Good morning, folks. We're back out at the shop today, and today I've got something a little bit different to work on. We've done a couple of videos on some of the antique flashlights that we have around here, and then a couple other videos just had flashlights in them. Those Just Right carbide lamps. We showed some flashlights, and every one that we've showed some flashlights in, I've said if you want to see a little bit more content on flashlights, leave it down in the comments, and there's always a few people that say they'd like to see some more. The first one we did, it was kind of dusty even just from sitting at home, was this Burgess lantern flashlight, and it still works. I kind of built a little battery pack to put in here to run, since it took the old batteries,
We got a couple of those.
These, the old dry cell. This is a Rayovac. They're 1.5 volt, just like a modern AA, AAA, CED. They're all 1.5 volt batteries. Well, we didn't have any batteries like this that work. Although I do believe there is a company that's making a rechargeable cell that size that you can put back in antique flashlights. I think I saw something like that when I was doing a little research, and that might be something worth looking into, especially if we're going to end up doing a few videos with some of these old flashlights we got around here.
I got a lot of them.
Yeah, we got oodles and gobs of flashlights around here.
Everywhere you look, there's flashlights.
But when I was looking around out in the side building on a different video, I don't even remember what I was looking for out there at that particular time, I came across something that's been sitting out there for a long time that I'd forgotten about, which is this big old thing. Let's get the camera in a little closer here. This is, on the side of it, I'll snap a picture with my phone and edit it in. Actually, I already did snap a picture with my phone because I wanted to do a little bit of research on this, but it's Carpenter Manufacturing EOSTON 45, Somerville, Massachusetts. That's what it says on it there. It also says that on the inside of these rubber boots that go around the lens. But it is a big, heavy duty dual lens flashlight. Well, there is some words on the top of it here. I didn't even wipe it down much because I wanted to wait until we started recording, but here on the top it does say, oh, that's where you got it from, Bell Systems. Because Dad had said I thought this was Bell Systems. And when I Googled it, it said that too. I did a Google image search on it, came up with a little bit of information on it. I can read you the little bit of information that that tells, but it didn't give a ton of information on it. It says, this image shows Carpenter Manufacturing Company, industrial lamp or flashlight, potentially a Bell Systems dual flashlight lamp, manufactured by Carpenter Manufacturing Company, Boston/Cambridge, Massachusetts, used as an industrial, mining, or railroad lamp. This is just the AI overview too, so don't know exactly how much faith you can put into any of this. Features a dual bulb design, one large front lens and another smaller light on the side. Well, it's not on the side, but that's what it says in here. Made of sturdy green painted metal. There is some of them listed on eBay, and they're not particularly pricey, but the ones that I saw on eBay right now, also none of them say they're in working condition. So maybe one in working condition is worth a little bit more, but
we don't know if this one works, so.
Yeah, it's hard to say. But this one also still has old batteries in it. And we probably should remove them like we did those Rayovac ones and put them up on a shelf somewhere, because eventually they will break down. Like, look at this Rayovac one, how bulged out the sides are and everything. And eventually, especially since this wasn't setting in the shop where it's climate controlled, this was setting out in the side building, so it could draw a little moisture, and you don't want these batteries to leak the battery acid and dissolve your light. So let's pull these wires out of here. Ooh, goodness. Oh, I see. The wires are doubled over and stuck in there. Come on. The ends of the wires are doubled over. We'll save all these wires and stuff, just like I did with that Burgess lantern. I saved all the parts, because once you convert it to a newer battery, there's a bunch of extra room inside of there, so you can stash all the spare parts in there. Let's pull these out and see what these batteries in here look like. That is cool. Bell System, American Telephone and Telegraph, and associated companies for telephone service. So these were what they called the old phone batteries that you had back in the day. Well, these
might be original batteries.
These are not as old as I thought they were going to say they were. This light probably is World War II vintage or newer. These batteries have a date code on them, 10-10-64. So this battery's from 1964. Hell, that's practically new.
Yeah, looks like it. It's only 60 years old.
I've got my multimeter here, and it would be fun just to test these and just see if they show any voltage at all. Uh-oh. That one's getting pretty crusty on the bottom, and the bottom plate of it came off. Or not bottom plate, but the little bottom cap on there came off. That's still pretty cool. It's got a place there to write the date you installed on it. This one's 11/23 of 63. This one's 10/10 of 64. So they were made a year apart from each other. Pretty cool. Maybe we need to build a little shelf somewhere just to put these old batteries that we pull out of stuff like this up on.
I don't have any wall space left.
Yeah, well, maybe you need to build a new wall to put more shelves up on. Ooh, it's a little rusty inside, but it's not terrible. Certainly not rusted through anywhere. I don't understand what this base, it's got a big old wing nut on each side that you can loosen up, and then the base slides down and will go side to side like that, but the base doesn't have any mounting holes or anything. So I don't know if it's just if you wanted to be able to have it propped up like that and shining up on something for you so that you could walk away and go work on something, have it shining right where you're working. I really don't know. I was thinking that I was going to take that clear off of there, but I'll bet without springing that way out, you won't be able to get that clear off of there. So maybe I'll just fold it out that way and clean up the bottom a little bit. But I do want to wipe it down and clean it up a little bit. I can test for continuity to see if those bulbs are going to work. It's hard to tell looking through the glass and through the bulb whether or not that one kind of looks like the filament's broken. Oh no, boy, I don't know if I can get a picture of that or not. The filaments on them are really oddly like a kind of a curlicue filament on it.
Is it like a headlight bulb then? In an old car?
No, not even like that. It's a single strand that makes a loop.
Oh, I'll be darned.
I'll try to get I don't know if I can get my camera to focus in there. There we go. I got the glare just off far enough to the side to see the element on that.
I'll be darned, that is neat.
Yeah. So I'll edit that picture into the video. But that one looks like it's intact. Boy, they're just such a thin. Yeah, that one I think is... Yeah, that one's not broken either, so maybe both of the bulbs will work. Alright, first thing I'm going to do, clean this up just a little bit. I didn't even want to wipe it down much. Like I said, when I decide I'm going to do a video on something, I pretty much leave it alone until I start recording the video. And like everything else, I'm not going to get carried away cleaning this up. We're going to try this out. And then after we use it, it'll go right back out to the side building. And what the heck is the air compressor running for? We're not even using air.
I was working a year earlier.
Okay, the air compressor finally shut off. I just continued wiping this down a little bit while the air compressor was running. I think maybe to get at the bulbs on this, you have to stretch these rubber pieces.
Ooh, they don't look like
And yeah, they do not, actually they're more flexible than I thought they would be, but I'm not gonna take them off if I don't have to. Because my guess is they're not gonna stretch out over the ends of these without cracking and breaking. My guess is that this is probably from the 40s or 50s, even though those batteries are from the 60s, just from the little bit that I read online. But I don't know that for a fact. It is, and Dad and I were talking about this earlier, it's adjustable on one end, because he said, I wonder why they've got two different ends. And yeah, it really doesn't make much sense, but this end, the thing is, no, it isn't stuck. I thought it was stuck, but that moves. And try to get this where the camera can see it. When that moves, the bulb slides in and out, and that will focus your beam. It changes the position of the bulb in the reflector, and that changes your beam. I've got another big old flashlight at home that's got a slide on it like that, and you can go from focus to a broad light.
One reflector's different than the other two, isn't it?
Yeah, this one's got a pretty shiny reflector. That one kind of seems to be a matte finish on the reflector. My guess is one's a floodlight, one is made so that you can focus it down. And probably the focusing is, the farther something away is, you can adjust the bulb to get your beam down good on something. I am gonna put a little WD-40 on this. That'll probably attack that rubber now and dissolve it, and it'll all fall apart. I'll wipe it all down with this wet towel, then I'll go over it again with one that's dry, so it just leaves a little residue of the WD-40 in there. Like I said, I'm not getting real carried away. This is gonna see if we can make it work. Maybe I'll take it home, put the chickens away with it if it works, and then it'll come back out here, probably go right back out on the shelf where it's sat. Dad was just saying he's pretty sure he's had this since sometime in the 90s. So those batteries from the 60s were already 30 years old when we got it, and then sat out here in the side building for another 30 years. I won't put them back in it. We'll find a shelf somewhere to display some of these old batteries that we're pulling out of stuff, the ones that are in good enough shape to still display, because I know we got some of the old square and rectangular 6-volt batteries around here in some of the old flashlights and stuff, and it probably really is a good idea to get all of them out of the flashlights so that they don't dissolve and
Well, the older
ruin the flashlight.
They were worse than the new ones are for leaking. And
Yeah, you don't see a leaky battery nearly as often now as even when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s. If you left a battery in something that was dead for a year, you might as well throw away whatever it was in. There we go. That looks a little better. I got my old test meter from the 1980s here. Let's get that out. I will check those batteries, just see if they even show any voltage at all. My guess is no.
I think not.
Already got it set on. Let's just check and see if they show anything at all. I would be absolutely shocked if they do, but prop that up there where the camera can see it, hopefully. And I don't know which one is the positive and which one is the negative on these. I would guess positive is the center and negative is the outside, but I don't know that for a fact. But either way, it should still show on the meter, even if you got it wrong. Well, the meter's kind of jumping around anyway. Let's clip this one on here. Yeah, the meter's showing kind of jumping around anyway. But it jumps around a little bit more when you touch that on there. Let's check the other one just for the heck of it. .352. I don't feel it's hold steady 1.351. That I'm gonna switch this off of that one because the one for 2 volts says shunt amp. So I wonder if I set it to a higher reading if it'll quit jumping around so much. Let's try this one more time. 1.35. That battery still has charge in it from the 1960s.
Gee whiz.
And this one, 1.37.
Well,
How can that be?
yeah.
Well, that makes me want to try to test that with something to see, even if if they're showing some voltage. That I did try flipping the switch on, and I know it didn't come on, but how could that still have any voltage in them at all? Let's set those aside. We might try, oh yeah, the one's even falling apart. The bottom's falling off of it, but we might try something else on that. We might try, I know we got some screw-in little flashlight bulbs. Maybe we'll get a bulb and a couple wires and we'll try jumpering across there and see if that will light up one of those bulbs. I don't know, maybe if we find something in here that's disconnected, we'll hook it back up. Maybe those freaking batteries will work in here. I would imagine even if they got some power, it's going to go away real quick once you apply a load to it. I'm going to just hit it dry with the Scotch-Brite pad, flip it over and dump it out, and then I'll put a little bit of WD-40 on the Scotch-Brite pad and rub in there to kind of neutralize some of that rust a little bit.
Sounds kind of dry.
Yeah, when's the last time you cleaned the inside of this? You've had it for 30 years.
I think it's only been a couple days.
Ooh, my hand doesn't fit in there that direction. I got another idea here. Get this whole wire brush down in there. I should have done this before I cleaned the outside. Now I'm making rust dust. That's working better.
A little more dust won't hurt nothing. I've been making a lot of dust today.
Don't have enough hands to show everyone, but that's just basically what I'm doing. Just scrub down the inside of that, knock down all the loose rust in there, and then I'll spray a little WD-40 in there and rub it around. See if we can get a little bit of WD-40 to dribble out and run down there.
You gotta use up that can.
Well, yeah, we're not gonna throw it away. I could just get the squirt spray can that's behind me, but this one's closer, so I don't have to move the 3 feet to grab that one.
I ran out of that WD that was in the gallon can.
Let's see. Let's get a piece of paper towel and try to wipe that down just a little bit. I can't believe that those batteries are still showing voltage. There should be 1.5, which when they were new, they probably were 1.6 or 1.7, and they're showing 1.3. But that's still crazy. On a 61-year-old battery. One's 61 years old, one's 62 years old now. All right, let's get my handy dandy test meter back over here and set it to ohms of resistance. Let's take a little closer look what's up above here. My guess is it's not much. I can just slide that out of the way and we can put it back once we're done. That is just a cardboard insulator that went over the top of the batteries to keep the batteries from being able to short against anything. And yeah, there's nothing more than what I expected in there. These lamp sockets are very similar to like an automotive style lamp socket, which the whole bulb and everything is very similar to that. We got one wire and two wires together. The two wires together are going to be your ground. They made them all black. That's handy so that everything's the same color in there. That's convenient. Black wire must have been cheaper. So we got one wire. Oh God, Leo just found his lantern toy. Now he's going to be over here growling. And got one wire here that is comes in and goes directly to the center contact of the switch. That would be your hot wire. And then there's a wire that comes off of one side of the switch, goes to the bulb on this side, and there's a wire that comes off of the other side of the switch, comes to the bulb on this side. Very, very simple. Alright, let's prop that up there. Let's see, which one did I decide? I decided the double wire was the ground. So clip our, which I guess it doesn't even matter on, we're just checking for continuity now. There's nothing there. Well, I got this all propped up in a way where I don't think I can get to the switch at all. Maybe if I walk around here so I don't have to move everything. When I flip this switch, if I can get my finger in there. Nothing changed. The meter did not change at all. Let's try flipping it the other way. I got this propped up in the worst position to try to get my fingers in there. Still nothing. Let's try it on a lower setting. Still nothing. All right. I don't know if either of these bulbs are any good. That is the problem. Because if I touch my two probes together, you can see that we get continuity through there. Take them apart, nothing. With that switch turned on, we ought to be showing continuity. So I don't know if I can take the clips off of these probes and get right into the back of the bulb. I can on one of them for sure. I need to see if I can get new leads and probes to fit this old Mac Tools multimeter. Because I like this multimeter, but the probes are about shot on it. There we go. Would definitely be nice if I could get a new set of probes to put on this. Alright, let's check the back of this. I can get to the back of one of the bulbs easily enough here. And it is showing continuity. Interesting. How about this other one? I got too much stuff packed right in the way here. Right there. I'm not seeing anything on that one. Call from potential spam. That sounds like an important one. Okay, well, I'm showing continuity on one bulb and not on the other. So let me see which way maybe we got one good bulb and one bad bulb in here. It doesn't look like it, but who knows? It could just be that the bulb's not making good connection in the socket too, but man, I hate to try to take these. Oh, here, I'll put this back in the camera shot where you can see what I'm talking about. I really, really hate to try to pull these rubber pieces off of here. I'm afraid that I will break them.
Is that all that holds that lens on there? Is that rubber?
I think so. I think
I
the
would think so too.
rubber and the lens are... Boy, I don't know. Hold on, let me pause the camera for a second here and see what I can do. Alright, I turned the camera back on here. I've been kind of massaging that around and trying to get it to flex off there, and this is peeling off of there surprisingly without losing very much. There were some little pieces flaked off, but I am very impressed that that came off of there at all. Look at that lens. That is cut curved glass. We'll clean up the inside of that while we got it off of there. Now, just try popping this bulb out of there. I'm guessing it just, yeah, push in and turn just like a regular automotive style bulb. Boy, by looking at that, I would say that that's a good bulb, but it really looks good. It looks like it's fine. This says Master Lights, Carpenter Manufacturing Company, Boston, Massachusetts. So they made their own light bulbs too. That is cool.
It'd be just 3 volts, wouldn't they?
Yeah, because they were wired. The jumper went from the negative on one to the negative on the other. So no, that'd just be 1.5 volts. Yeah, just a 1.5 volt.
Yeah.
They were wired the negatives together. Let's see here. Let's put this back on continuity again. I know I hit a button there and switched it. Go back to there. Get my test leads again. See. Yeah, it is showing no continuity through that bulb. So even though that bulb looks good, it must be somewhere in it, it's got a break in the flow. It does actually, now that I'm looking at it.
It's dark, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks dark, which is kind of a telltale sign. Oh yeah, it definitely looks darker than the one in the other end. So maybe we can burn this one out and they'll both be shot then. It would not surprise me one bit if as soon as voltage goes to that, it just wouldn't be a bit surprised.
But it'll probably still be okay to just set on the shelf.
This one tests good when you test it at the back of the bulb. It shows nothing going through the switch.
Maybe you need to switch the switch the other way on that side.
I tried it. I tried it in both directions. Let me thread my clamps back on here and clamp it on there and just flip that switch back and forth a couple dozen times and see if it... I'm pretty sure they say, like with electrical switches, you should let them sit for 50 or 60 years. It's good for them, but...
Yeah.
Now it just showed continuity. Okay, let me check again here. Yeah, that went... I'll prop my meter up here so you can see. Nothing. Something. Nothing. Continuity. So we got one good bulb. And fortunately, it's on the adjustable beam end, which is kind of cool. So if I'm able to get this to work, I'll look for another bulb to put back in here. And we can still, I could take this home tonight and use it to put the chickens away. And I can kind of focus the beam on the neighbor's shed back behind our house from a ways away and see how well it focuses if we get this to work. Now, I think the easiest thing to do this point, oops, is I'll take my 1.5 volt battery pack that I made out of this and we'll just touch it on the leads and see if the bulb comes on. All right, the people that watched this Burgess lamp video will remember the battery pack that I made to put in here. This is the bottom off of one of the old batteries, and I used it as an insulator to cover up the back of my connections there. But I just made a little, yeah, I'm gonna have to take it apart. The wires aren't long enough to reach clear up out of there. I made a little battery pack with 2 D-cell. I started out with 4 D-cell batteries. I ended up taking it back apart and remodifying it, but just made a little battery pack with a couple of D-cell batteries. Because, like I said, they're all 1.5 volt batteries, so. And I would not be a bit surprised if a modern D-cell battery has as many, like they measure the power in milliamp hours. I would imagine that a modern D-cell battery's got just as much power as one of these big old dry cell batteries had back, especially the ones back in the 20s and 30s when they first started making those big old batteries. But I could be wrong. If there's somebody out there that knows a lot about that, leave it down in the comments. I guarantee there's going to be someone watching this that knows a lot more about battery technology than I do. There's just a couple D-cell batteries. I've got negative to negative connected on the bottom, just like those were connected negative to negative. Those are my 2 posts. No. Okay, I don't have negative to negative. I can see right here. That's the positive on one battery. That's the negative on the other battery. So I've got positive, negative to negative, and they're both connected that way. So this may be set up making 3 volts.
And that'll burn out that bulb. Does it say on the bulb what it is for voltage?
I wonder if I can, probably, if it did say it would have said on, and it does, but, or it's got some writing, but all I see is reflections from these LED lights. Let's see here. USA. Well, that does me no good. I already knew it was made in the USA. Carpenter Manufacturing, Master Light, 23C, Boston, 45, Mass. Alright, give me a minute. I'm going to do some Google in here and see if I can learn anything. Okay, after a little thinking. Okay, Leo, you're going to have to quit playing tug of war again now.
Yep.
Calm down for a little bit. You're too noisy. After a little bit of thinking, there's no way that the way that this was wired when I pulled it apart and had that jumper wire going from negative to negative and then the 2 positives hooked up to your 2 lead wires was wired right. You got to have something hooked up to positive and negative. So, I think that they just had that hooked up wrong. I looked at the wiring diagram for my Burgess light. I looked at a couple other vintage flashlight wiring diagrams online. Everything looks to be that if it had 2 dry cell batteries, it was a 3 volt system. So the first thing I'm going to do, just for shits and giggles, I'm going to make sure that I've got this switch in the right position for this bulb, and then I'm going to touch one of these old batteries that were still showing some voltage on these wires and see if anything lights up. Take one of these 2 old dry cell batteries that somehow show that they've got voltage, and I'm just going to test or touch these wires on here on one and see if we even get a weak dim glow out of that bulb. No, I'm seeing nothing. We'll try the other one just for the heck of it. Yeah, I'm seeing nothing there. There we go, just a regular old D-cell battery. We'll start out this one going to the middle, so that should be the hot wire. Yep, there we go. So we are getting a little bit of power, dim glow out of 1.5 volts on that.
So that makes you think that 3 volts would be okay then.
Yeah, I would have really liked if one of these old batteries would have gave it just a little, but I don't even see anything at all. Don't even see the element start to make a twitch of a glow. I'm not surprised. I was actually shocked that it even showed any voltage at all on those, but probably the little bit of voltage that was there, as soon as there was any draw, just was gone.
Yeah.
But it does light up weakly off of that. So now, let's see here. This will be my negative to negative. Try it with 3 volts. Nice and bright. Nice and bright. There we go. So what I'm going to do for trying this out, well, first things first, I'm going to put it all back together. I managed to get that back on there without breaking it. Boy, I didn't think I would. That old rubber's brittle, but it stretched back around there and it's put back together. And while I was doing that, I still had the delusional idea that maybe I need to put the jumper wire back in here and try it with these old batteries. So I'm just going to set them back down in there, hook it back up the way it's supposed to be, and just see if it will make that light bulb even have the dimmest glow. If it had anything at all, it would be astonishing off a 60-year-old dry cell batteries. So I gotta at least give it a try. It'll only take a minute. So we'll set them up so we can go, I guess any way they're in there, you'll be able to go negative to positive, but that may be how they're in there. It may have been jumpered like that. I'm not sure. Put my wire in there, positive to negative, and really positive and negative don't even make very much difference at all in this application. I'm going to flip that switch to the off position, hook up one end here, let's see if I turn this around, if I can reach that better. Makes you wonder if somebody put batteries in this in the 60s and said, oh, it didn't work and never used it because they had the batteries hooked up wrong or something. Alright, batteries are hooked up. Just for shits and giggles here, I'm going to try this one more time and see if we get any glow at all from those old bulbs. I already forgot which way we had to switch it, but not seeing anything at all. Had to try it though. You know what? I'm gonna way. Wiggle these wires around a little bit just for the hell of it. Yep. Unfortunately, as I expected, we're not going to get anything out of these batteries. I'm amazed that they even had anything in them to make the multimeter change. But I did get that on camera, so you saw that it actually showed something. So there's a little bit of voltage, but there's no amperage left in these batteries. Oh, come on. Get this cardboard piece back out of here. Okay. So people that watched the video that I made of that old Burgess lantern probably would remember that I just used some foam packing, like from shipping stuff, and kind of made something in here to make a cradle to hold this battery up in the correct position. I'm just going to take the pieces that I built for that out of here, stash them all down in this other light and hook it up exactly the same way.
The case looks like it's about the same size. So.
Yeah, well they should be. They took the same, two same size batteries. So I'll put all the stuff down in here. I'm just going to cram all my packing pieces that I made for that other one back down in here so that it'll support my batteries. Because like I said, I'm just going to take this home, try to use it to put the chickens away tonight, try to focus the light in the dark, see how that works. And then it's going to go back on the shelf again. So that's all the better it needs to be. I actually do use that old Burgess flashlight every once in a while around home when I need a flashlight for something. I just grab it and use it just for the heck of it. And that will leave me with a spot for my battery to slide right down in there. And then this was over top of it in that because that's a little taller case. So I'll just still set that on top of there. I will not bother with putting this back in there until I bring this back out to the shop. Then we'll put this all back together exactly the way it was. I'll put my Burgess light back together with the battery in it exactly the way it was. But I think that this will be good enough that we can try this out to see how well and how good of a beam of light this thing makes in the dark at home tonight. I'm just going to bend a little loop. I guess I can get you in here a little closer. Bend a little loop in the end of my wire. Loop it right around the battery post here. Bend a little loop in the end of my wire, hook it over the end of the battery post there. Yeah, let's flip it this way so that when I tighten the jam nut up, it'll be not trying to uncurl that wire. I'm going to get a socket to use so I don't have to try to reach down in there with my fingers. Get that nut started on there and just run it down till it is snug. Now this side, they got 2 wires all soldered together and everything. We'll see if I can get that to bend around a little bit to at least, oh yeah, that'll work. Make enough contact on there. It's only got to work for a couple uses and then it'll get put back the way it was for another 30 years out on the shelf in the side building. You gonna go glue that back on there? I was thinking about doing that, gluing the little cap that fell off the other battery. Dad's gonna go over and glue it back on so it all stays together. There, that's gotta go. Just get that just tight enough to hold it in place for a day. Now we'll just set that back on top of there. Yeah, I know it's not perfect, it's not absolutely correct, but it's got everything insulated so nothing can touch where it's not supposed to. There we go, look at that. I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. I don't know why I like stuff like that so much, but I think that that is pretty cool. Just for the heck of it, let's point it over there. See where it's shining on the door, and I'm gonna move this bulb adjuster. Oh, there we go. Focus it right down to a beam there. Okay, that's good enough for now. We will try this again at home tonight in the dark, and we'll walk out. When I walk back to put the chickens away, there's a machine shed at the neighbor's house back behind me where I can try focusing that beam back and forth a couple times to see how it does. Okay, folks, we're out in the backyard. I got my camera in one hand, the flashlight in the other. See if we can turn it on. Okay. I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, but it's not very focused at all right now. Shining on the neighbor's shed back there. Let's see if I can move the lever and focus this a little better. Oh yeah, actually that's pretty decent. I'm probably 20 yards away from that shed at least. That's pretty decent for an antique flashlight. They were not known for having a super great beam. Plus, maybe those bigger flashlights added a little bit more oomph to it. But we're not too far away from the chicken coop. You can see the light over there. Let's go close up the chickens. It focuses down pretty darn good. For an old flashlight, that's not bad at all. Oh goodness. And the old sitting on the door chicken's back up to her tricks here. So I'm gonna have to get her grabbed and thrown in there before she jumps down. Let's set the camera down. Get her before she jumps down and runs away. Okay, if you don't get her quickly, she jumps down, runs underneath the chicken coop, and then she ends up sleeping outside overnight. So. There we go. Actually, I'll just point at the ground here. I'll move the focus thing so you can see how the beam focuses on it there. Focuses down pretty darn good for an antique flashlight. Okay, we'll set it down here on the bench and we'll move it back to a not so focused beam. Get down here where you can see me. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like and the subscribe button. Share this video if there's anybody that you think might enjoy this video. And come on back next week. We'll definitely have a video of something here for you to watch. Thanks again for watching, folks.